Welcome to another episode of the Finally One podcast. I'm Kelly.
Hey guys, I'm Natasha.
And today we're going to be we're going to tell our story, like how we met and how I ended up knocking you up at 16.
Oh, knocking me up. Yeah, okay.
Right. So how did we meet? I'm going to let you start.
Well, I gotta start.
Because you were the one. You were the reason.
Okay.
You the reason how you got knocked up at 16, being fast.
Okay, let me go back here. So, let's see. Kelly was actually... How did we get to...
Our graduation, right?
Yeah, so a mutual friend...
No, I was dating your... Go ahead. I was dating your friend.
Right, you were dating my friend. I was dating your friend. Well, we had started...
Were you dating my friend?
No.
You always say you wasn't dating him.
We had started talking, his friend. And so me and my friend was like, yeah, we're going to go, see them at their graduation. They both graduated. Dang, we saying all of that?
Yeah. They
graduated together, so we went to their graduation. And we got to know them. They had a party. We went to the party. We chilled with them. We wasn't out drinking or nothing, but we chilled with them. Then my friend, started talking to Kelly. So she was talking to Kelly. I was talking to his friend. So we back and forth. And
oh, you want me to take it from there?
yeah.
So then my friend, my friend and her friend, did they go to the same church? They went to the same church, right?
To the same church,
they went to the same church. He invited me to go on their church youth trip to Carowinds. She invited Tasha to go.
Yep.
So we go on the trip. Tell them about when I walked on the bus.
Okay, so I'm from a little town. Like, we don't see many black guys, whatever.
Handsome like myself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, so he gets on the bus. We're about to go to Charlotte, Carowinds.
But wait, before I got on the bus, she was talking junk like she ain't know, right? Was it something like that?
My friend was just like, yeah, we gonna see, like, da-da-da-da-da. So he walks on the bus. I'm like, dang, that's him? Like, we hadn't seen him in a minute, so I'm like, dang. And she's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, okay.
Pause. I came to set that bus on fire, you know what I'm saying? I had on my Carl Kanai red, like red was my favorite color back then. So I had on Carl Kanai, a red Carl Kanai shirt. I had on a gold chain. I even had on a hat, some jean shorts, and some felines. But yeah, I was like looking good, smelling good. Hair had a fresh fade. I had hair back then. And I came with the thought to do what happened. But go ahead. So she was like, that's me.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, that's me. So they get on the bus, me and her chilling, sitting. And then we get to, we went to the theme park. We did the thing. We rode roller coasters, all that good fun stuff.
So what was happening while you was riding the roller coasters, or we would be in line riding the roller coaster?
Why do you want to do all of this?
Because I want them to know that this was you.
I paid
this
attention. Like, yes. Like, I was looking like
she was flirting at me.
Good.
She was flirting with me. So say like if my girl is in front of me and I'm hugging and they're in front of us, she's flirting with me, giving me the eye, giving me the look. And we flirting back together. She giving me the eyes. And at the time, I'm selfish. I'm young. I'm not thinking like this is my dude. Like pretty much my brother who let him tell her he was in love with you at, 16 years old. We were 16, 17 years old. He let him tell her. No, we were 18. Me and him were 18. Y'all were 16, right?
Yeah.
Let him tell her he was in love and you was the love of his life. But
pause, they used to like make fun of me. Like, that's the only reason like I was talking, because I was I was always the chubby girl. Like, yeah. So like guys didn't look at me. So, I get a little older, they, start talking, but all this while I'm thinking they always talked about me, but I guess that was how boys were younger, like, look at her. But I never knew that he was like in love with me. Like I thought we were just, you know.
But you was
trying to
kissing
date.
all on him. You was kissing.
So we had a
Kissing.
couple of kisses. Like you was kissing everybody and their mama too.
No, I wasn't. I was kissing her.
Kelly, come on.
I was kissing her.
Okay, her at the time, but then you had everybody else. Like you
I
was
didn't have no everybody else.
what you say, cap. Okay.
I was faking. I was not faking. I was faithful.
Okay, you believe
faithful.
that?
I was faithful. I was faithful to one woman, and that was her.
Pause. Stop. Don't do that.
I wasn't.
Because you wasn't. No.
I was. Anyway, she was fast. I was faithful.
I was not fast.
And but no, so for me it wasn't a serious relationship. I was full of myself. I was a butthole. Like I broke guy code. That was my guy. I should have never even flirted with you, talked to you or nothing. But I remember being so cocky and full of myself at the time. Yeah, we're gonna tell it all on this podcast, right? I remember being so cocky at the time and saying like, yo, when I found out y'all both was virgins, I was like, I'm taking both of their virginities. And I did it. Terrible. Which is bad. It's a terrible thing. But yeah, I was bad. I was broken, full of myself, unhealed. I'm not proud of it. So like when we talk about, you know, share the stories, I'm not proud of any of the things that I've done, especially being a grown man now and healed. We just want to give you the real, so hopefully we can help, you know, right?
Right.
So basically we at Carowinds, we leave. I think on the way back you told him you didn't even want to talk to him anymore.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm done. I didn't want to talk to him.
Right? And so
But it wasn't that I knew that I was getting with you and all that. I just was like, I wasn't feeling him.
Yeah, because I was talking to her. Like me and her, basically, we started talking heavy after that. How did it get to the point, this is where it gets a little shaky, like how did it get to a point where me and her got rocky? Because I remember the wedding. I remember we ended up coming to the wedding. She was dating another guy. The guy comes in the wedding. He sits next to me and my boy.
Right.
And come to find out, me and him are waiting on the same person.
Yeah.
And I didn't already got cool. We didn't already talk because he was cool. We played basketball. He could dress. I could dress. And so I remember her looking back, or y'all looking back, and both of y'all mouth dropped. That we were back there sitting together and talking to each other.
I don't
both
remember
waiting on the same person.
exactly how y'all got rocky. I know me and you have maybe like talked a little, and I would like tell you like, yeah, she got somebody else too.
Yeah. Let's clear that up. Did you do that so you can get with me? Did you tell, like, was that your motive?
No, my motive wasn't to get with you. Like
telling me about her messing with the other dude.
No, because I just thought it was wrong. Like you was cute and everything, but it wasn't my motive to like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Because I even asked her like, I'm like, look, I'm tired of being by myself. Like they wasn't together, that had happened. So I'm like, yo, can I talk to him? She's like, I don't care. So that's how
we ended up. Right. So after we went through that, me and her broke up. She ended up getting pregnant by the dude who she was cheating on me with.
Oh, that was later.
That was later, but I'm saying like it wasn't like they got.
Anyway, don't go into that. Yeah.
Exactly, but I'm just saying that they ended up having a baby together, and we ended up having a baby together. But we're gonna lead up to that. So your cousin, who was basically raised like your sister, began dating my other friend.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They began dating. Y'all start coming to Bristol. We start coming to Chihowie to see y'all. Mm-hmm. And so the day you got pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. You told me this story about how you made up in your mind it was Easter, that it was going down that day. Talk about that. Help these young girls out why they shouldn't be fast and doing this stuff. Like, this was Easter.
First of all, yeah, and I did not realize that it was Easter, Lord forgive me. I've asked
You
several
remember
times.
it was Easter style.
No, I didn't like.
Y'all were in. They were in church.
No, it had happened before that. Like I made up in my mind that I wanted to.
But in
it
church
just happened. No,
in church, y'all made up in your mind
we were
was
coming to Bristol,
and that it was going down.
but I had made up in my mind already. It wasn't like I was in church talking about, yeah, I'm about to lose it. Like
Facts,
no.
too. But anyway, go ahead. So you made up
Anyway,
in your mind.
I made up in my mind because everybody else was having sex, and like I said, I was the bigger girl. Nobody really looked at me. Like everybody was having sex, so like I'm like, okay, it's time for me to lose my religion. I'd go to school.
Use your virginity.
Lose my religion. Well,
And
else.
virginity. Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, losing my virginity. Everybody in school, like they was talking like, oh yeah, we did this, we did that. I'm like, dang, what am I doing out here? So I ended up losing my virginity on Easter Sunday. I don't remember what year it was. Me and my cousin had came down. We had met at a park, and then I think he took me back to his house. Yeah, and that's how it went down.
So let's pause for a second. What would you tell a young lady right now who is feeling that peer pressure and feels like she should, because everybody else is having sex, that she should be having sex?
No, don't do it. Learn yourself. Like, know your worth. Like, find you. Don't try to be like everybody else. Like, I was wanting to be that person. I wanted to fit in with the crowd. I wanted to talk about the stories of me having that night and everything went down. But yeah, it's not worth it. Like, you see what happened to me. I got pregnant, young age. 16. I had my baby when I was 17, which, thank the Lord, that was a blessing. But, like, you don't have to go through that. Like, don't let the peer pressure you, because it's not worth it.
It was tough. Like, we were babies, having a baby. Like, yeah, you got pregnant, and there's no such thing. Let's tell them this. There's no such thing as safe sex. You got pregnant. We thought we were being safe, and guess what? The condom broke. That's how our son Aaron got here. Right?
But the thing is, the night that it happened, this fool
What?
gonna tell me, oh, yeah, you got pregnant.
I knew it. Like, I knew it. I don't know how I knew, but when I saw that the condom had broke, I knew, almost like, no, I'm not going to say that. They're going to rip me up in the comments if I say it this way. But, like, I felt it. Like, I don't know how I knew, but I knew she was pregnant, right? And here's the crazy thing. So that happens. I go away to school, right?
Well, first, back it up. You went to my cousin and her boyfriend telling them that they were going to be godparents.
Yeah, that day. That same day. I knew. I was like, yo, y'all get ready to be godparents. She pregnant. I just knew. I don't know how I knew.
And I'm in
I don't
denial.
know none
like,
of that.
No,
I
ain't
was,
pregnant.
I was jokingly saying it, but I kind of knew. I kind of felt something. I go to school, right? I don't see you. I go to school. I don't see you for like 3 months, and I bump into you. Or you came down somehow, and her stomach is hard as a brick, and I'm like, yo, you pregnant? No, I'm not pregnant. I was like, listen, your stomach hard. I mean, her stomach was hard as a brick, and I'm like, no, you're pregnant. You need to go to the doctor. You want to tell what happened? You go to the doctor the next. No, you go tell them about you going to your cousin's house to take the test. That part.
Is that when? Okay.
Yeah, because you went to take the test. Then you called me.
Yeah, I went to take the test. I didn't want to because I was in denial. I go to my cousin's, and we went to another cousin's that we went to her house, and she had a pregnancy test, and I took the test, and immediately as I peed on it, it said I was pregnant. So I'm like, all right, he's right. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck?
Yeah.
So I call him, and I'm like, yeah.
All she says was, yeah. And I knew what she was talking about. and I cuss her out. I was like, I go crazy. I'm like, you not keeping it. We're not keeping this baby. You getting rid of it. Like, don't even think about it.
Cussed me out.
And she's like, she's basically like, she didn't even say nothing. She
I
didn't even
was
say.
in shock.
She
Like,
didn't even
I'm
say
still
anything.
sitting there like I'm pregnant. Like,
She couldn't believe it, and like you were in shock. But then I was like, well, we getting rid of it.
and unhung up on me.
And then, so I start calling different places, the abortion clinics, and try to make preparations. She goes to the doctor, and how far along were you? You were already.
4 months, maybe.
She was like 4 months, and it was like, you can't get no abortion. It's too far. You're too far along to get an abortion, and I was just like at a place where I thought my life was over. I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? Like, and you hid it from your mom. I hid it from my parents. Like, I didn't tell anybody. I was terrified. Like, talk about you, like the week before you told your mom in church what she did. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so I knew I've got to tell my mom, I've got to go to the doctor. So the week before, she gets up, and I don't know if any of y'all know, but the churches have testimony service. She gets up, testifies, oh, my daughter is just awesome. I don't have any problems out of my daughter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here and I'm pregnant. So after that, I think it was like a week later, I let it go by. I had to go and tell her, and I was terrified. I was sick to my stomach. Like, I did not want to tell her. So I go upstairs. She's laying in her bed, I believe. And I said, Mom, I haven't had my period. And she said, well, I knew something was up. I knew you hadn't been asking me to get no pads or anything. And I was like, yeah, no. I take that back. I said, Mom, I've been having sex. And I said, I've skipped my period. And she's just like, well, I knew something. And then she was like, well, we got to go to the doctor. And by this time, I was like 5 months pregnant.
And you wouldn't have told your granny what your grandma said.
Oh, yeah. My granny knew. She was like, I knew something was up. You know how y'all probably don't know how my grandma was, but my grandma was grandma. She tell it like it is. She tell you if you fat, if you ugly, if you, So she was like, yeah, I knew something. So,
she love your grandma. She was always she always kept it 100. She would say over the years, like, yeah, Kelly, like, y'all getting big. Tasha must be cooking nothing but rice and pasta and carbs. Like, y'all getting big. But it was loving. I never felt like, I never got angry or offended. It was in love. You know, it's like, it was just who she was. And I appreciate that. Me personally, I appreciate somebody who's just themselves and they just say it. I'd rather know how you feel, know what you're thinking, versus you playing a certain way or you playing a role. So I always loved that about your grandma. God rest her soul.
Yes.
She was always who she was. She always did whatever she could to help us. She was always there for us. Mm-hmm. When you had Aaron.
Oh, yes. It was my grandmother. Like, I was still in school, so she was babysitting Aaron.
Yep.
Had him eating anything and everything. Aaron was eating beans and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even eat that. But my grandma had him, like, they made each other company because she was a blessing.
She was, for sure. So then, after you told your mom, I had to tell my dad and my stepmom, and I told my stepmom first. Like, she just kind of walked into the living room, and I was like, "You're gonna be a grandma."
Yeah, he would never let me come back to Bristol.
I was
after
like,
that.
"Don't come to Bristol."
I could not come down here. Come to Bristol. I was
like, "Don't come," and I was like, "You finna be a grandma." She was like, shut up. Tell your daddy. She called my dad to come downstairs. And I was like, you finna be a grandfather? And he was like, what? And he said the same thing. Like, I knew something. He's like, I hadn't seen her down here. And the next week you came down, she had on them overalls and she looked so beautiful. Like, I never saw anything more beautiful than Tasha pregnant. Like, man, it was like instantly, like that's when I fell in love, when I saw you pregnant with those overalls, because I hadn't seen you since for a while anyway. Like we hadn't seen each other
Right.
because I wasn't going up there, you wasn't coming down there. I was literally trying to figure out my next move. I had just left college from playing college football. It didn't work out. I was trying to figure out my life. Next thing you know, I'm working 2 jobs. At that time, I was working at Blockbuster and McDonald's,
Yeah.
and just trying to figure out my life. And I saw you. You came down, and my dad and my stepmom going off of how beautiful you were. And she's so pretty. And yeah, and so that began like me, us really being in a relationship and
Right.
being together. And you know, you going throughout the pregnancy. Did we date a lot during the pregnancy? Or I was working a lot.
You
Right.
worked a lot, and then I just remember one night went to the club or something, and I'm sitting at home like 8, 9 months
You
pregnant.
funny. I didn't go
But-
to the club like
Yes.
that. I wasn't a clubber like that. Let's be honest. I went to the club for a reason, to get some money or do something. It wasn't no, I just went out to the club. I was never
But
a
it
clubber.
really wasn't a dating, like, you would come up sometimes, see
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I would come down here.
Yeah, so it really wasn't nothing a lot. And I didn't have a car at the time either.
Right.
So I had to get a ride anytime one of my friends was coming up and stuff like that. But fast forward to the day you're in labor. So I'm gonna paint the picture. I'm at Blockbuster, right? And I'm in pain. Like my back is hurting. Like it's a pain. Like I played football all those years. I ain't never felt pain like that. It was hurting so bad that in between customers, I was laying on the floor behind the register because my back was hurting so bad. And then here you are, you're not feeling well, you're sick, and your mom gets you to go on go sing, and you ask me what do I think, and I was like, no, don't go. And your mom talked you into going. You can take it from there.
Yeah, I woke up that morning and I was hurting in my back. It was a lot of pressure. And we were in this choir, which I loved. Like, it was a mass choir that we sung different places. But I got up that morning and we were supposed to be in, I think, Galax to sing. And I'm like, I don't know, Ma. I don't know. And she's like, yeah, just come on. We'll go up. Come right back. So I called him. I'm like, hey, he's like, I don't think you should. Da, 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 da. I'm hurting too, but do you? I'm like, okay, this is for the Lord. I'm going to push. So we went to Galax, we sung, and we left right after we sung. And Mama knows that I had a favorite place. It's in Whitfield. It was in Whitfield. It was a fish place. And she was like, you want to stop? I said, no, I want to go home. So we get all the way back home. I think I sit down and start talking to my grandma, and I'm like, oh, I'm in pain. We got to go. So we get back in the car, and we head to Marion, and I call him, telling him, hey, I think we might be doing something. I don't remember my water ever breaking or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, he was like, yo, we're going to the hospital. And I was like, what? And I told my boy Ed, I was like, yo, she in labor. Like, I need you to take me to the hospital. So we finished our shift, and Ed drove me to the hospital. And I remember I walked in, and you and your mom, they had you walking. And it was like some kind of blood on your gown. And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, I almost fainted then. And I was like, yo, I got to get it together. And I remember us being there, watching the monitor.
Yes.
Aaron's heart rate started to drop.
His boy Ed would sit there, because I had an epidural. I was like, I'm in pain. So I had an epidural, and we were sitting there, they're watching the monitors, and his boy Ed's telling me, oh, you having a big one right now. You having a big contraction. That's just something I remember. But
yeah, and his heart rate started dropping, and so they told you they wanted to do a C-section. And so they take you in there, and I remember, them putting on the thing, And then, of course, they make a barrier so you can't really see on the other side. And me being nosy and like just wanting to see, like wanting to see my son being born, I look over and I just take it all in. Like I see them cut her, I see them pull him out, I see them moving stuff around, and I take it all in. I don't cry, I don't do anything. And I remember them showing them to us, and he was huge. How big was Aaron?
Aaron was 9 pounds, 5.5 ounces.
Yeah, he was huge. 21 inches long. And I remember after they sewed you up, cleaned Aaron off, put him in the baby thing, and you went to the room, I was like, yo, I'll be right back. And I went to the car, and I literally cried, like not just like a whimper. I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I cried so hard. And I always tell people, I went in that car a boy, and I came out a man, realizing that my life was no longer about me. Like that day changed me forever. And I immediately snapped into, okay, now I got to get a car. So I started looking for cars, telling everybody I come in contact with, yo, I'm looking for a car. And my friend Chris came into Blockbuster. I was like, yo, I'm looking for a car. Well, I found a car I want. It's $2,000. Like, I need to figure out how to get $2,000. He was like, you ever had a loan before? I was like, nah. He was like, go see my girl Bev at Highlands. I'll tell her you're coming. She's going to give you a loan to get a car. And I was like, for real? So I walk into Highlands. I go meet Bev. Bev gives me my first car loan for $2,000. I went and bought this Oldsmobile. It was a great car, in great shape. One of my friends, it was his car that he didn't want. He didn't like it. That was just basically sitting there. Leather seats, everything. It was just a nice car. And I was able to get that car, basically just signing my name. I didn't have no collateral. I didn't really have credit. I didn't have anything. It was just strictly based off relationship. Got that car, and let me tell you how ghetto I was. Got that car. First thing I had to do, I got her mom to let me use her Sears card to put some rims on it.
Yeah, he promised to make payments on it until he got the rims paid off, and my mama did it.
I paid it off though.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, I paid it off.
Yep.
I didn't. I did it. I was responsible, but like looking back now, like dude, I just had a new baby. Why go create a bill to get some rims? Like I didn't even need no rims. The factory rims was on there, was nice, but that was just the mindset. Like coming from the projects, coming from the hood where I was from. That's what you saw. You got your old school Oldsmobile and you put rims on that thing. So I had to give me some rims. I was foolish. But I was just still young though, young-minded, didn't know anything. And I remember, like I said, becoming quote unquote a man, knowing that I had responsibility bigger than me. And then now for us to see our grandson be born. Like, it took me back. Mm-hmm. It took me back. So I'm on the other side of the glass watching my son look at my grandson.
Yeah.
Like that was crazy. It's still an out of body thing. And tell me if you agree with this. Having children and having a love for your children, you don't think anything compares to that. But seeing your grandchild, it's a different love. I didn't think it was possible to love anything more than my children. But my grandson, Omar, like, bruh, it's like, man, it's an amazing feeling. So much so that I battle the thought of moving to Nashville.
Oh yeah, I want
to be closer to him. I don't want to leave here though, but I think about it for him. Like I battle internally, like, man, should we move? Because I want to be close to him. I want to be where I want to see him. I miss him. Like I knew I would love him. I didn't know I would miss him.
Yeah. I never knew, like, when people would say, oh, my grandbaby, this. I'm like, okay, you had children. Like, why are you acting like that?
Yeah.
But when Omari got here, I was like, oh, my grandbaby. Like, that's Mimi's baby. And I don't care. He going to be spoiled, rotten, because it's just something about it. Like, I
Oh,
love it.
100%.
And let me know too, I was mad. Like, I didn't want to be a grandma. I was like, I'm not ready. I'm young. Me and Aaron grew up together. Like,
Yeah.
Aaron's 25. So I'm like, I'm not ready to be a grandparent. But boy, when Omari got here, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is nothing like it. Like, oh my gosh, I want to see him now.
Yeah, ain't nothing can't really describe that feeling. So here we were, you're 17, I'm 19. We got this baby. We're immature. We're both broken. We're unhealed. We got all of these issues. We're in this relationship. We're trying to figure out life. I'm working, going to see you. And I don't remember, well, I do remember at the time, tell me if I'm wrong, you had an attitude problem.
Yeah.
She had a terrible, when I say terrible attitude, mouth, like she was like, oh my gosh, like she was spoiled. So anything didn't go her way. She mad. She didn't know how to communicate. And we broke up. When Aaron was 2, we broke up. Like that was we broke up. And you would you started, if I come pick up Aaron, you hiding in the other room,
I
like
didn't want to see him.
like it was crazy. But we were just so babies and we were so young, and went through that, and we grew. And then eventually, when was it, after we broke up, not too long after, I ended up in a relationship with my older's daughter's mom. That created a rift, and then I break up with her because I want to raise my son. And I come to you once again. You ain't want nothing to do with me at first, and eventually we get back together. I call your mom. I ask her, "Can I marry you?" And she said, "Yeah." And then I propose to you. We get married. Now, listen to me. Was not saved. No relationship with Christ. Didn't know anything. All I knew, my singular focus was, I want to raise my son. Right? My goal in life, I did not want kids outside of my household because of how me and my sister grew up, going back and forth from my moms to our dads, and bouncing all. I wanted a home where I had all my kids in one place. And here it is. I propose to you. We're planning a wedding, and I get a phone call that my daughter's mom is pregnant right before the wedding. So here it is. My worst nightmare is coming true. And as I don't know why I started thinking about this. I started thinking about The Game. You know the TV show The Game?
Yeah.
And Dora and talking about the streets is talking, y'all. I mean the streets the streets talking. Yeah. Like, I'm terrified. I'm like, yo, my life is over. Like, I'm getting married. Here's somebody saying that they're pregnant. What am I gonna do? I didn't have nobody to talk to. I didn't even feel like I could talk to you and tell you. So I was like, what am I going to do? No, I didn't talk to you, right? So here was my thought process. I said, here is what I know. What I do know, Aaron is here, right? Aaron was already 2 years old. He was here. Anything could have happened with that other pregnancy, because of all of the other pregnancy scares I had while being wild and being young. What I did know was Aaron was here. So rather than roll the dice, and not
Aaron was 1, not 2. But go ahead.
He was 1?
Mm-hmm. Aaron was 1 when he walked in our wedding.
I thought Aaron was 2. But anyway, either way, I knew he was here. So rather than roll the dice and not get married and not raise my son, I said, I'm getting married, and then I'll figure that out later, right? And we got married. And then the week we got married,
I did not know that he had this baby on the way. We got married.
Streets is talking, the walls are closing in on us, people calling the house, wanting to tell her that I got a baby on the way. Because of course I got married, so the young lady started telling people. It was a mess. So I sat her down. This is the week after we got married. And I was like, yo, She says she's pregnant. And I just remember this look came over her face and the numbness that I felt. So you talk about it, you take it for that, like, how did you feel? What was going through your mind? Why did you stay? Why didn't you get the marriage annulled?
I mean, I was pissed. Like, I was mad, even to the point where I don't know why I remember this so vaguely, but me and his sister, we were tight. We talked. And me and her were walking around the block, and I looked at her, and we were talking about the incident, and I said, payback's a bitch. I wanted to come after him. Like, I wanted him to, yeah. And I asked her this the other day. I said, do you remember that? She was like, yes, I remember. But, I mean, I was mad, hurt, like, all of the above. Yeah, like,
And it was hell.
that just took me back.
It was hell.
Yeah, it was hell.
It was hell because it became this thing of comparison, right? Like, me wanting you to be her, me comparing you to her having a daughter, you wanting a daughter.
Yes.
Like, it was a mess. And guess what? We were all in the same church together. I think we should leave them. We were when we got married.
Oh,
you all.
Yes,
by the time we watched her whole pregnancy, I think we should leave them right here. I think this is a good place for we to end this podcast. Y'all gonna have to tune in next week to hear the rest of this story, right? Ain't this how the soap operas do it? The drama. Tune in next week, next Wednesday, and we will pick this story up.
Right, finally won.
Thank y'all. Wait, we say we're gonna do this. Closing thought. You got a closing?
I don't have
closing
a closing thought on that.
I don't have a closing thought either. Biggest thing I'm gonna say is when you start thinking about marriage, right? When you start thinking about, hey, this is a person that I potentially want to marry. I think the most important thing after making sure, number one, that they are saved, right? If you're a believer. Making sure that they have a relationship with God. That should be first. The second and most important thing, make sure they have healed.
Healing, yes.
From their trauma. They healed from their childhood, that they have done work. Like, they've went to therapy. You and the spouse, y'all should go to couples therapy.
Yes.
But there should be a period of healing. And I'll say this too. With all your might, with all your strength, wait until you get married to have sex. Right?
Yes.
Taking, like, before we got remarried, 7 months of courting, all of that, we did not have sex till we got remarried, right? But here's the thing. I was able to see so clearly and think so clearly. If all of the relationships that I had been in before, take sex off the table, take those sex goggles off the table, the majority of them would have not even been worth my time of even talking to them or going out on dates, taking sex off the table. And that's just being honest as a man. Like, being able to see clearly that this woman loved me for me, and that the Lord had gave her to me even as a teenager. Now listen, I'm going to say this. I hope some of y'all get this. He gave me what I needed. He gave me the perfect wife for me, not necessarily all of the things that I said that I wanted. Does it make sense? He gave me the perfect wife for me that loved me unconditionally, loved me for me, not loved me for anything that I can do for her. So, bringing this full circle, closing remarks. Make sure they have a relationship with God first.
Yes.
Number two, make sure that they heal. They go to counseling, heal from their childhood trauma, heal from whatever broken pieces, because it's hard to fill the needs of a person who don't even know themselves, so they don't even know what they need. Close it out right there.
Preach.
Tune in next week. We're going to finish this story. Peace.
Hey guys, just wanted to come to you thanking you for checking out the Finally Won podcast.
Listen, this is what we need you to do. We need to grow our following. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Make sure you're sharing these episodes. You don't know what couple that they may help. So subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. You don't know who you're going to help. And make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yes, guys. Share. Help us.
Yeah, and you don't know who you're going to help. So it's not about us. It's about helping couples, right?
Share, yeah.
So share, like, subscribe. Help us get our following up.